Alright, so I live on the edge of the Gulf State Forest here in Florida. I am in a neighborhood that was built to be the next villages, but then it was abandoned. So my neighborhood is huge, empty, and full of nice roads and nothing but woods. They laid the grid, and that's about it. My nearest neighbors are my parents. They're across the street kitty-cornered to me, and besides that, it's at least a mile to the next person. I am so far out, it takes 15 minutes to get to the nearest anything, which is a gas station, and town is another 10 miles further on. I have to use Starlink internet because literally no one else reaches out here. Have I adequately described my isolation? Good. Lots of trees and empty spaces. So one night, my child, who was about 7 at the time, has built himself a giant pillow nest by pulling the coffee table up to a sectional couch and piling the result with every quilt and pillow I own. It was a formidable pile of comfort, and he passes out from his effort rather early. So I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna play a game. I load up Skyrim and wander off into the mountains, as one does. And I'm playing for about an hour when my dog starts barking to be let in. I've got 3 dogs, Bug, a pit bull, and Ding and Thor, who are sausage dogs. I hear the bark. It's not the "hey mom, there's a problem" barking. It's just Bug doing his one bark that means he wants in. It's more of a "hey mom, you forgot me, let me in." Any pet parent is smiling at this because we know our animals and what their sounds mean. So it's just the one, slightly annoying bark, and he's doing it about every 10 minutes, like he always did. But I'm playing my game, I'm having fun, and it's not even 9 p.m. yet. It's a beautiful night, so I decide to ignore him and keep playing. I don't get many chances to game uninterrupted, so I ignore him. But he keeps on, and I'm stubborn. So after about an hour of it, I'm fully annoyed, like, if I wanted to let you in, I would've. But I don't say anything or holler for him to stop, because my kid is sleeping directly next to me. So now I tell myself he can wait till I go to bed since he wants to be so annoying when it's a beautiful night out and there's no reason he needs to be in right now. And I keep playing. But I start to notice guilt creeping in. He barks and suddenly I feel bad leaving him out there. He barks and it totally interrupts my train of thought on the game. He barks and I have the physical urge to let him in, just to stop it. So now it's like 10 p.m., fully dark. I'm fully annoyed that he won't stop doing this one stupid let me in bark. Just, and nothing else. So he does it again, and I finally give up. I'm like, fine, you win, shish. And I toss my PlayStation controller onto the pillow nest next to me so I can get up and out of the nest I've become entangled in. And it hits something with a distinctly meaty thud. And I hear the sound of an interrupted snore and I freeze. I move the blankets and there's Bug, sound asleep, not a care in the world. The sausage dogs are also in the blankets with my child, sleeping like the dead. And cold terror washed over my entire body. I mean fear like I've never felt. I literally felt like prey. Like I was huddled around a fire for safety and I was not safe. And I heard a sound in my head, like the voice of hundreds of women. I could hear my grandmother amongst it. And it said, don't move. Don't let it know you know. Pick up your game and keep playing. Ignore it. Along with the feeling of absolute certainty that if I took one step toward the door, I was dead. So I picked up my controller and I went back to playing. I cannot tell you one thing I did in game from that point on. I might as well be running in circles, because all I was doing was listening for the next bark, and the next one, and the next one. Finally, around 11:45, I noticed that the air didn't feel so heavy anymore and that I had actually started playing again, that the barks had stopped and everything felt normal and okay again. I slept on the couch with my son. 2 weeks later, I found Bug hanging from my back gate, caught in the fence in a very unnatural way. He had to be put down. So Jay grew up typical poor and white in a backwoods southern town. He's Gen X, so 70s and 80s. So I'm sure nobody has any issue imagining the setting: dirt roads and farmland baking under the deep south sun. Shady-ass adults, shitty twins and teenagers, a bunch of lipnic kids running around drinking, smoking, and kicking each other asses for no reason at all before the age of 12. No parental guidance, let alone supervision. Corrupt cops always around the corner to hassle the trailer park kids. Good old boys. You get the picture. Jay, his sibling, and his crew all grew up rough. He and his friends would be gone for days exploring the woods, hunting, fishing, trapping, you name it. One day, they come upon an old, overgrown, long-forgotten cemetery in the middle of nowhere, presumably attached to one of the many dilapidated buildings that passed for churches centuries ago. They're looking at the graves and his friends comes upon the grave of a Civil War veteran soldier. He had a Confederate cross on it. Sorry, I really can't remember what the Confederate cross is for specifically, but they knew exactly what it was as soon as they came upon the grave. So naturally, his shitty friend pockets the Confederate cross from his grave. Nobody says shit to him about robbing the dad, or, cursing himself or something. I mean, there was an entire Brady Bunch in Hawaii episode about the same shit, so they can't even claim to have not known any better. You don't just go about robbing graves, let alone a grave surrounding such senseless conflict in a war that put brother against brother. Anyhow, the cross is forgotten to time by those that were there that day. Fast forward 2 years later, a couple of decades, Jay and I are together, just had our first baby a couple of years into Facebook speak. People are still making social connections with past mates at this time. Jay connects with his old friend of all those years past, but it's not good. The old friend was plagued with life problems. Children and family had to cut him off. Typical deadbeat life of depression, alcoholism, and self-sabotaging behaviors. I think his twin sister had been murdered while in their late teens, which created a wound that he just couldn't heal. So eventually, Jay tells me that story about the graveyard and this guy. It immediately hits me. What if this dude picked up some kind of attachment or juju or whatever that day he took the Confederate cross? This guy could have some nasty attachment. So I, of course, explained this thought to Jay, telling him to maybe find out if this friend still has that cross, and if he does, maybe encourage him to return it to its rightful place. Jay does just that. He finds out this friend actually still has possession of the stolen Confederate cross. Jay suggests he return it to the grave it belongs at. The friend takes his advice, and after 20-30 years of battling grief, addiction, losing his family and his self-respect, the guy's life takes an 180-degree turn. He is now an active part of his grandkids' lives, and hasn't fallen off the wagon since. In the house where I grew up, the front door opened up to the stairs leading to the second floor. At the top of the stairs, the first room on the left was my bedroom, which I shared with my brother. There was a bathroom directly across on the stairs, and my parents' room was on the right. One night, I woke up with that feeling of pure dread. I felt frozen, but somehow I knew someone was looking at me. It took several minutes of effort just to open my eyes and peek towards the open doorway. I didn't dare make any movement to let them know I was awake. At the top of the stairs, looking down towards the front door, was a pure black silhouette of a thin woman with a silver bracelet on her right arm. I remember alternating between fear and trying to convince myself it was my mother, looking to the door to see if one of my older siblings come home. But my mother never wore any bracelets and was definitely not thin. I was very scared and I was trying to say "Mom" over and over, but I'm not sure if I ever was able to even make a noise. Then the shadow's head turned towards me, and I saw the bracelet move from the doorway towards the woman's face, and she placed a single finger to her lips as if to say, "Shh." Later in life, I've woken up with that same feeling of being watched and not being able to move many times. Then I read about something called sleep paralysis, during which your mind wakes up but your body is still asleep. So if you wanted to move your body, you can't because it's asleep and not obeying your normal commands. And also, if your body moves unconsciously, you can feel like someone else is moving your body because your mind didn't make the command. The particular article I read also said that once someone knows or learns about sleep paralysis, they usually don't suffer from it because you're able to remember that you're sleeping, and that's enough to make the connection between body and mind, and for you to have control again, which luckily has been the case for me.